Hello, community. So this time I'm very, very excited to talk about this. It's something I've been waiting for a while, and that is basically the announcement of the Diablo III expansion, now called Reaper of Souls. Now, first, before I get into with the new content into this, because I'm a big Diablo fan, I want to get into my history of Diablo. So the first Diablo game I ever played was Diablo 2. I think a lot of people did. And I hadn't been computer gaming for a while, a long time, like for years. And I wanted to get into a computer game again. I wanted to get into another computer game. And so I went to my local EB Games, which is no longer around. And at the time, the store was split in half, where half the store was dedicated to video games, and the other half was dedicated to computer games. And since I had been in computer games for a while, I just basically went there and I looked at basically the best selling popular computer games. And Diablo 2 was there, and there was a lot of strategy games there because PC, historically has been a home for a lot of strategy games. But I wasn't interested in that at the time, though I like them. But I saw that Diablo 2 was a hack and slash loot game, and I was like, that sounds really cool. So I picked it up, took it home, and absolutely fell in love with it. I loved the hack and slash style of the game. I loved all the tons of loot that dropped. That every time you killed something in a boss or enemy, you get tons of loot. And I went on to BattleNet, and this is back when I had a 56K modem, and never really had any real problems online with the game at all, and did several level runs through the game, several runs through the game with people online. You just jump in a random party with people and then go. And I got to understand when I got Diablo 2. I got it 6 months before Diablo 2 Lord of Destruction expansion pack came out, and I got that when it came out, and played a lot online and loved that also. And so when they announced Diablo 3, I was really excited for it. And ironically, I had a friend who loved Diablo 2 so much that he pre-ordered Diablo 2, the digital version. He downloaded it ahead of time, or downloaded it, and the minute it went live that he could play it, he started playing the game. And this is where the funny story about that comes in. So because I wanted the game and he was playing it, I kind of used that. I told my wife, you know what? I mean, he's playing it. He needs someone to play in line to play the game. I should get the game for him. And even though she probably didn't buy my story, she was cool enough to let me get it. And so I did pick up, Diablo 3 the weekend it came out. And we had another friend who got it, and I played through the online through the whole campaign once. I played through the hardest difficulty almost all the way to the end. But I also helped a lot of people beat the end of the game and play through a lot of levels in the game and had a lot of fun with it. But when you historically go through the history of Diablo 3, a lot of people are going to blame the auction house. And that's a shame, because the truth is the auction house wasn't the reason that game had so many problems. The reason the game had so many problems at launch that people seem to forget was like 6 months or so before the launch of that game was supposed to go out, they decided, or very late in the game, they decided to revamp the battle system, revamp gameplay. And you don't do that so late in the game with basically a time you have to press the game and release the game, and they did it. And because of that, they basically spent most of a year properly balancing the game, fixing the bugs and all the other stuff. Because now listen, we never got to really play what the original version of Diablo 3 was supposed to look like. Very well could have been a lot of issues with it, and it probably may have been the best thing in the world to switch over. But because they did the switch like they did, it hurt the game. And because of that, it hurt the auction house. Now, granted, I don't know if the auction house has a future, because clearly it's not on the consoles. They're not adding it on there. Maybe it won't be in future sequels of Diablo in the future. But the only way the auction house is going to work is they had to continually release new content. They had to continually release new items, legendary or otherwise, that you would go to the auction house and buy, whether it be with real money or whether it be with the money, gold in the game. And they didn't do that. And because of that, the auction house has basically become worthless, because they haven't added a lot of new items to the game. They've added new, obviously new things like the Paragon levels, 100 new levels for you to go to after you, max out the level of your character to continue to play the game. But the auction house hurt from it. So, now with all that said, let's get into the expansion Reaper of Souls. Now, the first cool thing about this is that they are raising your level cap to level 70. So if you love your character and you want to be able to raise the levels more, you get the ability to do that. They're also adding a new class into the game, which is the Crusader class, which is a lot like the Paladin class from Diablo 2, that basically he wields a shield and he flails. So he's basically a mid-range melee. I don't know why I said medley. He's not singing the whole time. Hey, I'm going to sing to you while I beat you. Basically, he's a mid-level melee character. It basically does shield bashing and smithing. So smitting. So there you go. They're also bringing back Diablo 2's Fist of Heaven's Holy Lightning Strike returns, which is cool if you love that. So basically, Crusaders can follow up with a falling sword, a teleporting drop attack, that basically turns the Paladin's heavy armored body into a artillery strike. Again, there's a lot of cool things that they add a new character. Of course, we're getting a new act. For those who don't know, the story of Diablo 3 expansion is that basically Tyrell, the fallen angel from Diablo 3, the Black Soul Stone that still houses Diablo Soul, so that they can do obviously sequels in the future and other stuff, is indestructible. And so he has to hide it so that obviously he knows bad people are going to come looking for it, and he doesn't want the angels to know where it is, so he hides it with people who are loyal to him. He goes to hide it, and literally right after he hides it, I hope I get this name right, Mothriel, which used to be the Angel of Wisdom, which is now has become the Angel of Death, shows up and takes a Soul Stone, and that is the setting up of the story. Where basically near the end of the trail, you'll see Tyrell says to go get your character, so that's how your character gets involved. Now, you're asking, what is the setting to this game? Where is it going to take place? This will take place in the city of Westmarch, and basically, since he is the Reaper of Souls, he is the Angel of Death. Of course, he has an army of undead that you will have to fight. Again, new enemies, new location, which is really cool, because obviously you get sick of seeing the same thing over again. But one of the coolest things I got to talk about this expansion, to me, is something I wish was in the original Diablo 3, and that is a new mode called Loot Run. So basically, the point of Loot Run is basically you jump into the game with a couple of your friends. You pick this mode, you jump into the game with your friends, and basically you get a completely randomized 15 to 20 minute dungeon. In other words, everything's randomized, from the assets to the layout to the lighting, to the weather, to the monsters, to the loot, even the end boss are completely randomized. So if you and your friends want to jump into, you don't want to do the story anymore, went through the act several times, you can jump into this mode and just play random stuff. This would have, I think, kept a lot of people interested in this game, like me, who dropped off if this had existed with Diablo 3. I'm really excited for this mode. It'd be cool to play it. Now, the other thing they've done is they added a new R-stand into the game, which is basically the Mystic. Now, what the Mystic does, it allows you to transmorph items. In other words, letting you transfer desirable stats onto items you like the look of. So, if you like a look of a certain item, you're like, wow, these stats really don't work with my character. These stats totally suck with my Barbarian. Well, you could use this to try to re-roll the stats. Now, of course, since you're re-rolling, and since it's random, it doesn't mean you're always going to get the desirable stats. You may have to do it more than once, because it could be the chance that you re-roll, like, let's say, your Barbarian sword that you love, and you could end up getting 100 intelligence, which doesn't do your Barbarian any good, or you could roll 100 strength, which is very good, very important for your Barbarian. So, again, you'll be able to re-roll stats, which is really cool. Because, look at your character, it's just as important to you in Diablo as it is the strength of your weapons, because, that's you, that's your style, that's what you like, that's what you're projecting into the online game with people you play with. Hey, this is what I like to look at my character. Now, they're also redoing Paragon to increase money, to increase magic drop rates. I've heard they're also going to allow you basically to do Paragon at any level. We'll see if that's true. They're also doing what they call Loot 2.0, which basically what they're doing is, anybody who played original Diablo 3 knows that after so long in the game, a lot of the loot dropping was worthless. A lot of the loots weren't for your character. A lot of loots were just stuff that wasn't better than what you had. And so basically, after a while, especially my second run through Diablo, when I was trying to run through the second time, a lot of the weapons and a lot of stuff were just worthless. I just didn't even bother looking at them anymore because there was nothing that was worth picking up. Well, the point of the new Loot 2.0 is that basically the game will be dropping loot tailored to your character class. So whatever character class you have, they'll be dropping loot for that character, which does good if you really love that character and don't want to change. Now, granted, there is something to be said with having some loot for other classes, because if you have other characters that are lower level of other classes, you can always take that loot, put it in the chest for them, and play it with the other character. So this will allow things not to be so like worthless. Now, also, they are going to be supposedly dropping more legendary items in the game, and so it'll be interesting to see how this affects people's experience with the game. How, if it makes it more fun for people. Like for example, you could like there were a lot of common items originally, and there will be fewer common items with Loot 2.0, but they won't be totally worthless. You can't use them because you can also melt them into new crafting uh, reagents in order to do with other stuff. So again, they're trying to make the loot worth things for you, no matter what it is, for every class, which is a very positive. Again, this expansion looks really cool. Unfortunately, they have not announced when this expansion will come out. Hopefully, it'll be soon, but at least we're finally getting some news on expansion. Something I'm really glad about. Listen, Diablo 3 is not like most games, right? A lot of games come out, and a year after it comes out, the game is completely dead, or people are done with it. Diablo's a game that people will play for years, and if they just released, like, I would like to see an expansion, honestly, every 6 months. That's just me. Heck, I'd be happy with every 3 months, though I don't think that's feasible. But even if they only came out with expansion once a year, with a lot of content, Diablo fans would be happy. And I think that was the point of Diablo 3, was there was supposed to be a lot of content, and that just didn't happen because of, obviously, issues with the game early on. So, excuse me. So, what do you think about the new expansion? Do you like a lot of the things they're doing in the new expansion? If you haven't played the game, if you dropped out of the game, would this interest you getting back into the game? I would love to hear your guys' thoughts. Again, guys, thanks for subscribing, thanks for liking the video, and thanks for watching. And I will talk to you guys soon.